Why would you look at that? We finally entered the Song of Welkin Moon update. Yes, we do. Just look at the newest Archon Quest's name. Anyways, we officially entered the first phase of Nod-Krai's Archon Quest, and I have to say, this quest actually surpassed my expectations. When they say they're filling in the loose threads of Genshin's lore, they were not kidding. A lot of things that were mentioned in this Archon Quest tied to every single quest that we have experienced in Natlan. Well, I mean, not all of them literally, but all of the main quests, which includes both the Archon Quest and the World Quests. This honestly puts a huge smile on my face because the moment they talk about sovereign rulers, I just know I am way ahead of people because all this, even their names, were mentioned in the City of Talon World Quest. They even mentioned the world Natlantia, which mind you, only Rene's notes and the entrance of the City of Talon mentioned this name. Kukulkan was involved, Ochkan was mentioned, and even the heroes that were mentioned in the weapon descriptions have huge relevance in this quest. This update is a huge lore fest for us lore enjoyers, and if you don't really get the quest, like you don't really know what is going on, or not caught up to these overwhelming amounts of text, don't worry, that's why I am here. Today we'll do a recap of the quest, then we can start theorizing from there. Unlike my past videos, I'll try to keep the recap more to the important lore part instead of the emotional ones, and because this quest sort of fill in the plot holes of Genshin's lore, I'll be recapping while analyzing the quest with past lores as well. As always, don't forget to give this video a like and comment so the channel can be noticed by the algorithm. My name is Neko Gitsune and I make lore and commentary videos on this channel to keep you company. But before that, patch 5.8 is out this week and we are introduced to a brand new character, Innova, a sub-DPS electro character who brings the brand new Luna reaction to the game. Luna reactions will undoubtedly be the new meta once Nod-Krai patch is out, so it's not a bad idea to pull for her if you want to experience Luna reaction before anyone else's. They also rerun Sitlali, who is the perfect partner for Mavica and Mel teams in general. If you need extra promo gems to pull for them, then allow me to introduce you to Lootbar. Lootbar is a reliable site for a fast, secure, and super reliable top-up experience for your Genesis Crystal. With Lootbar, you'll get up to 25% discounts compared to in-game prices. All you need is to enter your UID and you'll get your item in less than 2 minutes. They won't ask for anything else, so rest assured your privacy is guaranteed. Just in case you're asking, Lootbar is also available for both PlayStation and Xbox as well. The reviews on Trustpilot are very positive with over 20,000 reviews and a lot of them are showing their satisfaction after using Lootbar. Other than Genshin Impact, Lootbar is also available for other games as well such as Honkai Star Rail, Wuthering Waves, Cells of Zero, etc. Click the link in the description below and register to get an additional 10% coupon that can be combined with all other discounts. Now let's continue to the content. In order for you to understand the whole thing in this quest, allow me to give you a very brief recap of the City of Talon World Quest. Don't worry, it's very brief so you have nothing to worry about. The whole thing about that quest is to stop Kukulkan from activating the Huitzilopochtli, a machine created by Xiuhua that can destroy Natlan and soon spread to the entirety of Tevat in order to recreate the world anew. In order to do this, the Chosen of Dragons, in this case both the Traveler and our little buddy, traveled across Natlan in order to find the 2 golden entities that were said to remove the little buddy's curse of Flamelord's blessing. Of course, all of this is a lie, that is not the case, and I already told you the whole point of this quest earlier, so once the little buddy chose to not activate the machine, Kukulkan's plan failed and he finally faded away. There are 2 main reasons why I didn't make a recap video of it. First, because there really isn't much demand, and second, I kinda foreshadowed the whole thing in a video I made before the 5.5 update was live based on a book called Men of Lithen. So if you want a detailed recap but not really type of video, then you can watch that as a lot of things in that video and the whole story itself makes a lot of sense. Anyway, during that whole quest, we get to read a recorded meeting of the sovereign rulers, and 3 of them will be relevant in this Archon Quest. First is the 4th ruler named Awach Kumilalkan, or the one that we now know as Ahau in the present day. The second is the 8th ruler named Ix Achkotsich Ikismalwaksak, and the third is the 11th ruler named Ixtraklapuch Chuek Puluk. Don't ask me how many times I tried to spell all of those names, it was painful. But I am dedicated to my job, so I'm doing my best here. Now, based on evidence we have, it's possible that Ahau might be the 8th ruler as well, given there's a detailed description how this ruler died, but both the 4th and the 10th have strong evidence with how they are connected to Ahau. I'm going with the 4th ruler here because his Chinese name has the same letter as Ahau and Awaj, which also makes more sense given Ahau's name is closer to Awaj. Anyway, in the context of this video, I'll be referring to the rulers as Ahau and their respective order of their rulership because I can't afford to spell all of that again. And in the story, only Ahau and the 11th ruler are still alive, so be sure to remember that so you won't get confused on which ruler that still remains. Sovereign rulers and dragon sovereigns are different groups by the way, so don't get mixed up. Now let's get into the main recap. The quest starts with a traveler visiting the Flower Feather clan, meeting Chaska and Eva who are tending an injured Kukusar. According to Chaska, the secret source automatons have been out of control recently and the traveler offers to help, so the gang decide to go to the beach to take down the enraged machine. After defeating them, the gang finds a humanoid machine with a message that seems to be for the traveler and Paimon. However, because the machine is unconscious and the message itself is locked behind a cryptex puzzle, the gang decide to visit Shilonen in order to wake the machine and find out how to solve the puzzle. Eva however sits this one out to tend the Kukusar back in the clinic. At the same time, a Fatui is spying on them at the top of the hill. This is where the Song of Welkin Moon Prelude officially starts the journey home. Arriving at the Children of Echoes, we meet Shilonen who is also trying to find a way to solve the enraged automatons as per requested by Mahuika. After she wakes the machine up, the machine is unfortunately unable to remember her memories, including the code that is needed to unlock the cryptex. According to Shilonen, the machine's memories are not gone, but rather locked behind a system by receiving a headache if she tries to remember it. It's literally as simple as that, but of course, Paimon is stupid enough to not understand it, so Shilonen describes the machine's condition in a metaphor of a curse. So essentially, the machine is cursed, so it will stay in a single line of what it needs to do. When it tries to do something that strays from its original purpose, the curse will send pain to the machine, allowing it to feel pain so it won't do the same mistake again. The peculiar thing about this machine is how she was made, because according to Shilonen, the cryptex is a mishmash of every nation, and so is the machine whose core is from Natlan, headpiece from Mondstadt, and joints from Fontaine. That said, it's hard to jog the machine's memory because she doesn't even remember her name or even her home. One thing that she remembers however is how to operate the companion robot she brought along and cleaning, so Shilonen takes a sneaky opportunity by ordering the machine to clean the workshop. To jog her memory, she says. She's not lazy, she says. While cleaning, this is where Shilonen and Chaska reveal some past lore from weapons, Ishkik and Lianka. One is mentioned in Ring of Yaxche, while the other is the wielder of Chainbreaker. Both are craftable weapons. They are the first generation of the 6 heroes, along with Yupanchi, Wenuku, and Ahpup as per mentioned in their respective weapons. They are Shaker, Footprint of the Rainbow, while Ahpup is stated by an NPC named Shona in the Collective of Plenty. All of them are implied to be the founders of their respective tribes. Anyway, according to Shilonen and Chaska, both their history has very little to no record because, well, Ochkan happened. In order to avoid Ochkan from getting all of Ishkik's research, she decided to burn her workshop. It's also implied by Chaska that Ishkik burned herself along with the workshop. Or so it seems. According to the Ring of Yaxche, it was Ishkik's brother Ahpup who burnt it. For context, Ahpup was loyal to Ochkan because he also hated the dragons, but Ishkik found compassion in dragons, so she lived along with them. Under Ochkan's orders, Ahpup was tasked to unalive the dragons in Children of Echoes, but of course, Ishkik doesn't want that to happen, so the two had an argument in Ishkik's workshop. The argument went south, and Ahpup ended up raising his sword to Ishkik to threaten her. However, he accidentally impaled his sword to Ishkik's neck, unaliving her in the process. Because Ahpup was so distraught, it is implied that he was the one who burnt the workshop and walked to the fire with his twin's corpse. Damn. That one is so depressing to think about. Now as for Lianka, it is pretty much the same as Chaska described. She was raised by a dragon and sought freedom for the weak and the persecuted dragons. As the humanoid machine looks at the scroll she was cleaning, it shows an image of Lianka and she reacts to it as her curse suddenly acts up. Kinich approaches the gang and finds the machine as part of his commission, bringing everyone to a group of merchants from Nod-Krai. We learn the machine's name is Inafa, a machine created by Aino. We then learn that the reason behind the merchants' travel is to return to their respective home as the Fatui starts acting up in Nod-Krai by pulling the moon and having a huge conflict with the Frost Moon Scions. In order to avoid this war between the factions, the merchants left Nod-Krai to return to their respective nations. It is also said that Inafa's reason to follow the merchants was because she wanted to visit Natlan to find her missing memories, and midway, Inafa saved the boat that they were in when they were attacked by the automatons. Because of Inafa's condition, the merchants decide to stay in Natlan for a few days in order to monitor Inafa. As Kinich left, he noticed how silent Aha was, and we learned that Aha recognized who Inafa was because of her core. Few days later, the Traveler and Paimon meet with Inafa, who is defeating Sacred Source automatons outside of the Flower Feather clan. Inafa does this to keep the tribe safe and also to avoid in case she's gone out of control again. Every time her memory starts to return, she'll experience pain and become rogue, hence why she is far from the tribe. She even starts to remember Lianka when the Traveler gave her a gift from the daughter of one of the merchants. Speaking of them, the last remaining merchant is about to head back, so everyone decides to return to bid a farewell to the merchants, more specifically, Wo-Shin, his wife, and his daughter. Inafa also questions whether she'll regain her memories. Will she be able to determine the place she finds as home? Chaska advised there's no harm in getting two homes as long as you can return, have someone waiting for you, and be able to get a rest. Home is the place where you truly belong. After all that, the gang meet up with Sitlali, who reveals something interesting. Because everyone found out that Aha was acting strange, Kinich set him up by giving him a timeout for 3 whole days, while adding 1 extra night by having Ifa and Kakuku to torment him. Pissed by Kakuku pestering him, he accidentally left an important statement, Sovereign Ruler. While everyone thought it's just a self-proclaimed title that Ahau always said to himself, it's actually not, because Ahau is part of the 13th sovereign ruler back in Old Natlan before the pirate dragon Shiukwatl was slain. We learn about all of this in the City of Talon World Quest if you happen to read all of the recorded meetings, and yes, there are 13 characters with insanely long names. We also get a revelation that these dragons are AI created by Shiukwatl himself using the secret source technology. They eventually perished one by the hands of the first generation of the 6 heroes, and their history slowly perished with Ahau as the only one known to have survived. It's also said that even Ahau doesn't remember which of the 13 he was. Oh my god! It took them this long to finally give an explanation why Kinich's design was like that. Although at the same time, I am quite pleased. I always have this theory since 5.0 that Kinich's design was like that because Ahau is a relic, let alone a damaged one, therefore his design is pixelated. The fact that the theory was proven to be true in this quest makes me laugh because I never told anyone about this and it's just based on my design bachelor analysis. Just for your information, he's portrayed to be quite lazy, which not a surprise at this point. Anyway, Ahau sensed that another sovereign ruler is nearby, referring to Inafa, whose heart is to be one of the rulers. According to Sitlali, there's a sovereign ruler that is close to Lianka. That ruler is the 8th ruler, also the one who used to rule over the Flower Feather clan. It's also poetic if you think about it because her English name is Priestess of Laurel Candles and Skyborn Feathers. Her death was not due to slain by humans, but she was executed by her fellow rulers for secretly raising a human. It was indeed mentioned to us in the recorded meeting that when the meeting was held, only 7 remained with Ahau went MIA, and everyone except the first ruler voted to not execute the 8th ruler, while the 3rd remained abstained. The execution method was never mentioned in the meeting, but it is revealed in this quest that the method was putting a curse to the 8th ruler by destroying her mind and sanity. This is also where the 11th ruler comes into play in this Archon Quest, because while Innova has a strong connection towards Lianka, it doesn't seem that she has a strong reaction towards the 8th ruler. As Innova, Paimon, and Chaska read the scrolls that Citlali brought them, the travelers sneak in to meet Shilonen and Citlali, revealing that Innova might be related to the 11th ruler who has the most hostility towards humanity. She apparently went missing, fell into insanity and despair after Xiuhua fell. Now back to the recorded meeting again. The 12th ruler demanded to execute the 8th ruler because she raised a human, in this case Lianka, which is considered as a betrayal. It is also said that the 12th ruler lost against the war against humanity, likely referring to their war against Xabalanque and the first generation of the 6 heroes. In this meeting, the 1st, 2nd, and 8th ruler acknowledged humanity while the 3rd ruler remained abstained. Despite that, however, the 2nd still voted to execute the 8th ruler. Anyways, I want you to keep this meeting in mind because this is a crucial information for the rest of the recap. Knowing the potential threat that Innova might be the 11th ruler, Shilonen and Citlali plan to get rid of her, especially how the automatons become rogue after her appearance. But Chaska intervened and still believes in Innova that who she was before is not who she is today. But as they talk about that, Paimon runs to them, telling everyone that Innova flies away while her annihilation mode is on. Citlali and Shilonen stayed in order to find more clues while everyone else tried to find Innova. Not long after that, they find Innova defending the merchants that left this morning from a rogue automaton. After the battle, a group of Fatui is spying on them, revealing that they're the one behind the rogue automatons by using a core duplicated by Sandrone. Yes, that's Sandrone. She allows this Fatui member to do whatever he wants, further confirmed by Washin. Innova is able to talk to the automatons, claiming that this automaton's authority was stolen by the Fatui. It's also implied that this automaton is the 8th ruler, and Innova herself was referred as the 11th ruler. So what's the connection with the Fatui? Well, the Fatui took control of the 8th ruler's authority, and in order to restore it back, she asked everyone to visit her territory. With that, she will be able to regain her authority and also claim that she is able to regain Innova's memories. As Chaska, Washin's wife, and his daughter head back to the tribe for treatment, Washin secretly walks to a certain domain. Innova, the traveler, Paimon, and the automaton followed, entering what seems to be the 8th ruler's territory. Entering it, the automaton finally spoke clearly, revealing that Innova's memory were indeed cursed. The 8th ruler revealed that she was saved by Lianka, and Lianka also saved the 11th ruler, now known as Innova, by making her forget her memories. It was said to be this way to save Innova in order to avoid certain memories that can trigger pain. Of course, all of this is a bunch of baloney because we all know the truth. Anyways, in this domain, there are 3 priestess nodes that tells what happened with the sovereign rulers and even Kukulkan. With that, let me give you some interesting lore summary. We learn further that Xiuhua is anything but an evil dragon, but in fact, he is an extremely kind and gentle dragon. Some of you might remember that Kukulkan left humanity and disappointed in them after teaching them how to use phlogiston and ended up using it to harm each other. While the first priestess note states that Kukulkan might do this in order to destroy them, we learn that it's not necessarily true and he did find compassion in humanity. It was after he prevented his brother Xiuhua from activating Huitzilopochtli that he started to realize his brother's decision. After he left humanity in disappointment, in order to reactivate the Huitzilopochtli, he tricked humanity and lured them to activate the machine by using the Chosen of Dragons propaganda. Turns out that it's not only him who found interest in humanity, but also the 8th ruler and the 3rd ruler. If anything, what we know about humans using phlogiston to harm themselves was because of the other sovereign rulers who used this as an advantage by inciting them to harm each other by using it. Anyway, the 3rd ruler's plan was to negotiate with humans so the dragons and humans could live in peace by weaving their souls into a dreamlike realm. In order to do this, the humans have to appoint a holy sovereign to become the vessel of this dream by blinding their eyes and mutilating their ankles. Ew. This realm was soon destroyed by the last Holy Sovereign servant named Dinga, and the land is now known to be the Masters of the Night Wind that we see today. The 8 Rulers' plan was to create a realm that cannot be disturbed by anyone, including the Abyss. The domain that we entered is basically that realm, hence the Shattered Sky, and it was named Project Xibalba. However, it was soon abandoned and the 8th ruler ended up raising Lianka. On the 3rd note, she asked the 2nd ruler to create a bow as a gift for Lianka. Perhaps this is a way for the 8th ruler to continue understanding humanity. The 2nd ruler is confirmed to be a tsundere dragon, by the way. Okay, now let's get back to the recap. We then learned that Worshin was working with the Fatui to relinquish him from his debt. After saving him, the 8th ruler saved them and revealed that Innova was reborn in this realm. The 11th ruler asked Lianka and Ishiki to split her in two, one who she used to be while the other tries to find a new home. In order to do this, the 11th ruler set a curse on herself in order to avoid trying to get her memories. This other half is called a malfunction, and in order to get rid of the curse once and for all, she needs to be reborn again. The 8th ruler has been waiting for Innova's arrival for 2,000 years, exactly the same time when Natlan fell. Meeting her, Innova accepted the 8th ruler's aid, only to find out one huge lie. There's no 8th ruler, she indeed died. The one standing right now is the 11th ruler, waiting for this moment where she can finally be reborn. As the Fatui approach, Genshin did the unthinkable and created one of the most graphic scenes ever. It's not even defeating or fainting, they were legit killed with the sound effects and all. I already told you, didn't I? Keep the information I told you in mind, because here's the real plot. The 11th ruler did meet Lianka in the 8th ruler's domain. Her core was split in two. The first half is her longing for a new home or her good side, while the other is her remaining hostility towards humanity or her evil side. The 11th ruler asked Lianka to destroy the good core, claiming to be the evil one that she calls the malfunction. She even assured Lianka that she locked the malfunction's memory and demanded to destroy it. She did this in order to fully control the 8th ruler's domain so she can destroy humanity. Lianka saw through all the lies and instead took care of the malfunction. In return, Lianka imprisoned the 11th ruler in the 8th ruler's domain, while the 11th ruler cursed the malfunction, hence the events that we see right now. The 8th ruler is long gone, and all this time, the 11th ruler pretended to be the 8th ruler for 2,000 years. As for the malfunction, she was sent by Lianka out of the country and further strengthened the lock behind the 11th ruler's past memory so it won't resurface again, and eventually, it became to what we now know as Innova. As the 11th ruler about to finish the traveler off, Innova gained bits of consciousness and destroyed the core that was in her heart, basically unaliving herself. However, one of the Fatui members is still alive because he is not a real human, but a bionic puppet created by Sandrone herself. Using the duplicated core, he revived the 11th ruler. The battle ensues while Innova fights back in her mind, doing her best to defeat the 11th ruler once and for all.
이 아이는 어느 나라에도 속하지 않아. 그럼 너에게 집이란 뭐야? 금주 금식? 저주가 있다는 걸 잊었나? 붕괴만 재촉할 뿐이야.
우리는 모두 노드크라이에서 왔어.
바다를 건너 새로운 안식처를 찾으렴. 처음 보는 기계네. 넌 어디서 왔니?
제법인데 여기서 지내는 게 어때?
광란은 사냥이야. 조심해. 말도 안 돼. 이 데이터가 대체 어딨어?
오늘부터 네 이름은 이누파야. 돌아와야 해. 가야 해.
데이터 과부하 처리 불가.
이 보석이 있는 한 이케가 널 위해 개조한 심장은 멈추지 않을 거야. 수천 년이 지나면 언젠가는 무수한 추억이 고통과 증오를 초월해 널 올가맨 저주를 무너뜨리겠지.
이 보석은
대단한 건 아니야. 어머니 말에 따르면 지금은 에너지가 담긴 껍데기에 불과하지. 하지만 네가 저주에서 해방되는 날엔 아마 아니야. 재밌는 생각이 떠올랐거든. 이걸 마지막 열쇠로 삼아야겠어.
마지막 열쇠?
이럴 수가!
After defeating the 11th ruler, everyone exits the realm. Innova tells everyone about what happened, and so is Woshin, who told everything to his wife about his involvement with the Fatui. All goes well, and after all that, the Traveler and Paimon are able to open the cryptex. Yeah, you forgot about that? Don't worry, so am I. It's a letter from Farka, but it's nothing much to think about because they're all things that we know about. However, it is said that Farka's expedition doesn't stop in Nod-Krai because they were half settled, meaning they might continue the expedition somewhere else. It's basically just a huge teaser to Nod-Krai, and just reading it makes me really excited. But of course, this is also the mark of the end, and this is where the prelude of Song of Welkin Moon officially ends. We get an opportunity to chat with Innova after that. Trust me, the only important part here is the moon wheel, because everything else are things we already learned. About Nod-Krai, don't even think about it because even Innova herself can't answer that. So the moon wheel is essentially like a vision, but the moon wheel draws power from something far more primordial than the elemental energies, likely from the moon itself. According to the 11th ruler, it is said that it was created by the heavenly principles and the three moon sisters, and these sisters are the gods of Teva that betrayed the dragonkind when the heavenly principles showed up. As a matter of fact, Lianka's mother, the 8th ruler in this case, owned this item, and when she passed away, it was then embedded in the malfunction's heart by Lianka, and then became Innova's actual heart and core after Aino found her. Similar items have been found in Nod-Krai, meaning most of the playable Nod-Krai casts wield these items as well. With that said, this is where the recap officially ends. We got a lot of lore to talk about, but unlike where I usually talk about them in detail, this time I want to talk about one theory in general, and that is how important Natlan's lore is to Nod-Krai. So let's do this. But you know the gist. Before we continue, do know that everything I made in this video are my efforts in researching this content, so be sure to hit the like and subscribe button because it helps this channel a lot, and also a good way for you to tell me that I'm doing a good job. With that said, let's continue. So this will be a huge theory section for only one theory, where we'll talk about the strong connection between Natlan and Nod-Krai, along with the moon wheel and visions. You can think of it as a recap of everything we know combined with some speculations. I'll be including Innova's signature weapon as well, the Fractured Halo, for easier context. You see, this quest further confirms that Nibelang did create the Three Moon Sisters, confirmed that the second who came is indeed Nibelang, and these dragons even attempted to replace the Three Moons after they betrayed them. I say it in an asterisk here because it's not necessarily a betrayal, because even Innova's signature weapon also hints that the Three Moon Sisters were unable to answer Xiuquatl and the 11th ruler's questions when the two visited them. It's heavily implied not because they don't want to, but because they couldn't. In the finale of the Deep Galleries, it is implied that the moons were forced to follow the heavenly principles. It's also stated that the lore in the Fractured Halo and the finale of the Deep Galleries happened at the same time, so Xiuhua and the 11th ruler's visit happened before the War of Vengeance. After that quote-unquote betrayal, the dragons and Kukulkan attempted to replicate the moon wheels, which this was indeed hinted at both Innova's moon wheel story and the Fractured Halo, but soon stopped by Xiuhua after the return of Nibelang to Teyvat, already corrupted with abyssal power and forbidden knowledge. Now, before I continue, a lot of people still question and debate whether Nibelang is the second descender or not, but let me give you some clarity here based on my understanding. While the second who came from before Sun and Moon, or Nibelang in this case, likely not the second descender, it's probably never meant to say that he is the second descender either. As we know, the Voyager is strongly hinted to be the second descender, but the Voyager was not known to many people of that time because she placed her consciousness to a young boy. The only people who knew and were aware of this are the First Angel, Surtology, Skirk, the Heavenly Principles, and likely all of the Five Sinners and the Four Shades. The Before Sun and Moon was written from the Enkanomian sage's point of view with the help of Istaroth, so it's very likely what they knew of the second who came is literally just Nibelang, and with the exception of Istaroth, they were not aware of the Voyager. Istaroth's power of time could likely be involved because in the Easy Breeze Holiday Resort questline and Angel's questline, it's strongly hinted that Teyvat's timeline is extremely jumbled. A lot of things in Angel's questline are contradicting, and while Fenty did sweep the timeline in Marijivari, I doubt it's his power alone that does this. Especially the main reason Marijivari was swept away by the timeline is because of Rindaughter's creation that even she herself cannot control. The timeline being swept could be the main reason why Enjo, who is hinted to be the Lava Walker, has memories of the major history in Teyvat, but he knew that all of them are not his because in the Lava Walker set, it was said that the Lava Walker eternally walked in the Sea of Flames but never returned. But that's another topic that we can talk about in the next video. Anyway, whether Nibelang is the second or third descender, we have no idea. This is also the reason why in my last video, I don't specify which descender is which because it's not clear whether the Voyager really was a descender or not because based on what we know, I doubt she is willing to work with the Heavenly Principles unless she was coerced to. It could relate to her memories being completely wiped in the records of Jueyun, but that's another topic that we can talk about in another video. I still don't want to specify who is the second or third descender here, but just know that the second who came in the Before Sun and Moon was indeed Nibelang. However, it's probably meant as in literally and not in the context of descender. Anyway, let's continue. So about the moon wheel itself, it was distributed long ago to humans and it seems they existed along with visions at the time. Think of it like this, those who praised the moon were granted with the moon wheel, while those who praised the shades and the heavenly principles were granted with visions. This was research done by the 3rd and the 8th ruler, who revealed that both visions and the moon wheels are created the same way, and that is a staff of the soul. I actually tried using my language to translate what this meant, and it's accurately translated to a soul's fragment as its material. In Yuvalet's character story, we were revealed that he is willing to set a part of himself to give humans visions, and Farina was the first human to obtain them. So in hindsight, the moon wheels are created by using the 3 moons' souls, while the visions are created likely using the 4 sheets' souls, or in this case, the Dragon Sovereign's authority. The main difference is the power, which explains the lunar reaction that Innova has. It's further hinted in Innova's character story that the 7 rulers refused to have their fate tied to the constellation. Innova is the other half of the 11th ruler, and with that logic, she was never meant to bask under the stars of Teyvat. However, because of Lianka's modification towards the masterless moon wheel, that other half is now tied to the constellations. In fact, Innova's constellation is called Vanilla planifolia, a Natlanese plant that was already extinct thousands of years ago, and the moon wheel was modified with the Sate plant. Now, the moon wheel itself was not wielded by the 8th ruler, but was owned by a human from Niflheim. It is also said to be a ritual item from the north, and Niflheim in Norse mythology is a realm of ice, mist and cold, a realm for the dead, and is the opposite of Valhalla. Because this was presumably around 2000 years ago when Natlan fought against the dragons, this item could likely hail from the Frost Moon Scions. Damn, it's all coming together, don't you think? Now you see why Nod-Krai and Natlan are tied together. But why and how did the 8th ruler manage to find the moon wheel, and even weirder, why was the moon wheel still active when she obtained it? Either the 8th ruler has connection with the Frost Moon Scions, or she risked herself to go to Nod-Krai just to find this item. Either way, it's a mystery how the 8th ruler manages to get this item, but I do have a theory on it. Since we know that the dragons and the 3 moons are strongly connected with each other, then we might learn more dragon lore in Nod-Krai, likely the Frost Moon Scions even. Remember Niflheim? I'm going to speculate that this place is in Nod-Krai, likely the Frost Moon Scions, because it is the only faction that dedicates themselves to the Frost Moon. The 8 rulers say that Niflheim is the place where humans do their rituals in order to speak to the moons by using the moon wheel, and it's really hard to think of any other place and factions other than the Frost Moon Scions or Hyperborea, but judging on the timeline and how this was written, I dub it's in Hyperborea because Hyperborea was long gone and it was destroyed way before the war between the sovereign rulers and the Natlanis. The name Hisi derives from Finnish meaning demons, and Niflheim is the underworld in Norse mythology. Niflheim could be the name before the Frost Moon Scions found the place, and it's likely that one of the past moon chanters have connections with the 8th ruler or even dragon sovereigns themselves. Now there's a peculiar thing about the moon wheels. You see, we recently got to see the drip marketing for the Nod-Krai casts, and the first phase of the Song of Welkin moon casts are Flints, Lama, and Aino. However, Aino doesn't have a moon wheel, but a vision instead. Since Aino is young, her vision could likely be gifted by Nivelet, who already received his authority. It kinda makes sense now I think about it, because Aino likely has no affiliation with the moon, unlike Inafa, who does have relation with the moon because of her origin being a dragon, or an AI dragon to be more specific, but you get the point. Flints' faction, the Lightkeepers, has strong connection with the Frost Moon Scions because their power also originated from the moon, and it was a priestess from the Frost Moon Scions that helped the Lightkeepers to defend Nod-Krai from the first Wild Heart invasion during the Cataclysm. As for Lama, well, it's self-explanatory. So far, there's only 2 moon wheels, that being Dendro and Electro. This could mean that there's only 4 lunar reactions in the game with only 4 elements for the moon wheels, that being Electro for the Eternal Moon, Dendro for the Iridescent Moon, Cryo for the Frost Moon, and Hydro for the New Moon. This could explain why Aino doesn't have a moon wheel to begin with despite being a Nod-Krai cast, because either she has little association with the moon, or because Columbina, who likely has strong affiliation with Hydro, has not yet ascended as the New Moon. My theory for some time now is that Nicole will wield the Cryo Moon Wheel, so if she is playable, then she might be the first person to introduce the Rhymecrest reaction, and or not limited to freeze and superconduct variant of lunar reactions. But that being said, like the quest's name, this does feel like an introduction chapter to what we can expect in Nod-Krai, because the whole thing in this quest has very little that we can theorize. I mean, I guess Sandrones, but I'm separating Sandrones section in another video that I'm working on. If you guys don't know, I create a series in this channel called the Nod-Krai Exordia, where I explain all of the factions that will be involved in the Song of Welkin Moon patch, and the first episode is actually the Hexen Circle. As for Sandrone, I'm going to explain everything about her in the Fatuis episode, so be sure to stay tuned on that. But of course, just because this quest has very little information that we can theorize doesn't mean it's a bad thing, because lore confirmation is also just as exciting as theorizing, and if anything, this rather confirms things that are left with questions, such as how the Moon Sisters existed, the ancient civilizations, and the sort of power that the people of Nod-Krai wield. This, however, gets even better as we delve into the Easy Breeze Holiday Resort, which I will make a video about it, hopefully will be uploaded this weekend. What are your thoughts about this quest? Let me know in the comments. I'll see you in my next video. Tjena!